To everyone who has shown their support and watched America's Got Talent, I am incredibly grateful. There are innumerable famous people who have gotten their start on America's Got Talent. However, some stories have a tragic twist behind the scenes of the lights and standing ovations. For some, Ansley Burns will always be remembered as the talented young vocalist who won audiences over with her electrifying performances. A terrible turn has now occurred in her life, though. Ansley has now broken her silence after months of silence to share a diagnosis that has shocked her fans. However, Simon Cowell's emotional response was the one that caught everyone by surprise. Unexpectedly, the judge who was famous for his harsh criticisms began to cry. Why has Simon's departure rocked the AGT world to its foundation, and what happened to Ansley specifically? Help us uncover the heartbreaking truth behind Simon's sorrowful departure by sticking around. The biography and background of Ansley Burns. It's often claimed that going back to the beginning is the greatest way to grasp the gravity of a situation. Ansley, South Carolina was the starting point in this particular case. There, in 2006, in a little town with strong principles and an even stronger passion for music, Ansley Burns came into this world. Ansley was never the type to sit back and listen to music like the rest of us. She immersed herself in them, sung them, and studied them. She always had a natural talent, even as a child. Nobody in her family was unaware of this. Her instructors were aware of it. It was undeniable for everybody who heard her sing. Unlike other musicians, she was doing more than just hitting notes. Rather, her songs served as narratives. And it was a staple of her performances. Whether she was performing in a school auditorium or a little church stage, Ansley always sang with the passion and conviction of a singer performing for thousands. And then she had an epiphany that altered the course of her life. And that isn't all. Keep an eye out for more updates. Even before she became famous in the United States, Ansley was causing a stir online. Her heartfelt rendition of "Cry Pretty" by Carrie Underwood was among the many of her country and gospel covers that started making the rounds online. The response was rapid and overwhelmingly positive. It was more than simply her voice that wowed the audience. Their hearts were touched. It in her delivery, tone, or even her timid smile. In a sense, it was genuine. People were drawn to it because of that. The 2019 season of America's Got Talent was sparked by the heightened buzz around Ansley. Season 14 of the show extended an invitation for her to audition. And that was the turning point in her life. Stepping onto that enormous stage at the tender age of 12, Ansley wore her distinctive glitter and the same innocent optimism that every child performer dreams of. Now the shocking part arrives. Burns, Ansley. The trip on America Got Talent did not begin well. A karaoke version of "Think" by Aretha Franklin was really started by Ansley during her audition. Simon Cowell signaled for the music to halt only a few lines in. Most children would have freaked out at that same second. Some adults might have freaked out as well. But Ansley did nothing, he merely stood there, grinned, and anticipated the next move. Simon informed Ansley that her voice was being overpowered by the background music. Instead of the background hum of the studio, he wanted to hear her, he said. He proceeded to issue a challenge to her. In the presence of the judges and an actual audience, he instructed her to sing the song solo. She sung solo, without accompaniment or support. She accomplished it. Ansley paused, rewrote the lyrics, and sang them as if they had always been written for him. No one spoke as the judges observed. Peers drew closer. The cheering was deafening as soon as she ended. She had obviously arrived. For the rest of her time on America Got Talent, that moment was defining. Among performers, she did not stand out. She did not have extensive experience. But she possessed an incredibly potent item. Bravery, elegance, and natural ability, that was it. America took note. Ansley would come back to America's Got Talent week after week with a new sense of self-assurance and resolve. She reimagined popular tunes by artists like LeAnn Rimes and Whitney Houston. She was a natural at the tournament, she didn't merely make it through. The admiration was so obvious even to the judges. Despite his reputation as the panel's harshest critic, Simon Cowell was effusive in his praise of Ansley Burns' command of the microphone and charisma on stage. Gabrielle Union praised Ansley, calling her a ray of sunshine, and Julianne Howe spoke the sentiments of many. Ansley was certain to do remarkable things. Ansley maintained his composure behind the scenes. Being modest was a product of her deep religion, tight-knit family, and Southern heritage. Her goal was not to become famous. Singing was her passion. People fell head over heels for her because of that. Everyone involved, not only the artist. Ansley had become more than simply a fan favorite by the end of her season. She had won the admiration of countless people. Though she was not the lucky recipient of the top award, she was victorious in many other respects. An emotional spot for supporters nationwide. It appeared to most that her narrative ended there. Yet, alas, that was not the last chapter. News broke years later of the tragic sickness that had afflicted the once brilliant young star who had shone on America's Got Star. One that could put a stop to her whole career. I don't know. To find out, continue watching. The devastating prognosis. After their moment on America's Got Talent, Simon Cowell bid Ansley Burns farewell. Even though it lacked drama, it had significance. Coming from one of the most respected and harsh judges in the business, it was a subtle gesture of respect. Ansley has stepped onto a global stage of unparalleled magnitude. Bravely performed under intense scrutiny, touching the hearts of the judges and the millions of fans around the world. That meant the world to a little girl from a rural area. However, that farewell was not the end for Ansley. It was a period. In Ansley's mind, appearing on America Got Talent was just the beginning. That was only the start. The theater may have brought her to the United States, but she felt in her heart that it had never truly defined her. A single performance or brief appearance on TV weren't enough to showcase Ansley's full potential. She continued on her path since she thought her artistic career was just beginning. Ansley spent time in South Carolina honing her skill, which includes storytelling through music in addition to singing. Ansley thus released a touching cover of Who I Am, not long after her participation on America Got Talent. It was a daring anthem about endurance and identity, sung by a girl from the city with a touch of Southern charm. That she will no longer cower in fear was her message. She was more than simply a reality TV participant. She had something to express as a young artist. Still, I got the impression that something was missing. Ansley came to the realization that her skill could not be fully expressed in just one song as her fan base kept expanding. Taking another giant leap forward was necessary if she was going to push herself further. Ansley Burns knew full well that The Voice America was one of the most challenging stages in the nation, so she approached it with quiet determination. The Voice was not an easy place to get onto. Ansley Burns counted it among the most difficult experiences of his life. So, it's not like America's Got Talent, where you may see a variety of performers like magicians, singers, dancers, and comedians. Singing auditions are the main focus of The Voice America. Singing ability is the only criterion used to evaluate each participant. Plus, they're all trying to win over 4 elite coaches who won't pay attention to a thing unless they do things like swivel their chairs or press buttons. It all began long before Ansley appeared on stage. Private auditions were the first. Without the benefit of cameras or applauding spectators. After then, there was months of silence followed by interviews, video submissions, and callbacks. It was nerve-wracking at every turn. Uncertainty pervaded every second. Someone wanted to know if she was going to be able to achieve it. These inquiries arose due to the fact that Ansley did not enter the process adorned with celebrity status, extensive network, or preferential treatment from America Got Talent. Guts was all she had. Rejection was nothing new to her. Ansley Burns has previously performed on a national stage despite being told no, despite singing through a sore throat, despite dealing with technological difficulties, and even while in the middle of her performance, she was interrupted. Still, she remained unbroken. That experience shaped her. She persisted because making music was more than a hobby. That was her essence. After what felt like an eternity of anticipation, the call finally arrived. Ansley was selected to participate in The Voice's blind auditions. It was finally happening, the moment she had fantasized about for so long. On one of the most famous platforms in the world, she would have the opportunity to sing and perhaps even turn a chair. More was at risk than before. She could only be heard by the judges, they couldn't see her. A complete reversal had occurred. She was challenged on America Got Talent to demonstrate her singing abilities while being watched. She had an opportunity to demonstrate her worthiness of attention on The Voice. Invisible to the naked eye. Ansley, her heart racing, stepped onto the stage on the big day. Like before, her family nervously watched from backstage before she sang. Her voice resounded throughout the room, exuding an air of self-assurance and strength that belied her many victories. Because Ansley Burns was so good in the voice part, the judges couldn't help but block each other's movements. An unusual and potent maneuver, it was. It was clear from that block that this was no ordinary singer. This is an individual who deserves our support. The plan all along was for Ansley to perform again after that. She proceeded to practice as normal, determined to overcome just like before. However, a pivotal event occurred that altered the course of events. A terrible illness nearly dashed Ansley's hopes and ambitions. Ansley Burns started to lose her voice on stage while singing, not due to illness this time but to cold and tiredness, a battle she had previously overcome. Stay with us because this is the part you won't want to miss. You see, the burden of the journey she had begun when she was 12 years old had only increased over the years. Ansley had been juggling a lot of responsibilities, including school, studio sessions, interviews, and concerts. Even if the cold she had endured before had subsided, it was making a comeback. The force was greater this time. Anxieties about her voice breaking down returned with a vengeance. It was during dress rehearsals that she first noticed it. The strain, wobbling, and diminished power in the once easy higher notes were the result. It was dubbed vocal exhaustion by doctors, and it was a disorder that may cause permanent harm if left untreated. Although it wasn't immediately fatal, for someone whose livelihood was dependent on their ability to speak, it could have been. The diagnosis remained confidential. No one should feel sorry for Ansley. However, she was devastated on the inside. Compared to the chill on America Got Talent, this was far worse. That one was just a stopgap measure. It was unique. She was about to jeopardize all her hard work unless she slowed down. Then the words of Simon's counsel resounded in her head. In addition to developing her voice's strength, he advised her to listen to her gut. Those were statements that Ansley absorbed fully at that very moment. She started putting her vocal health first, avoiding certain public events so she could heal. She changed her strategy, not by pushing harder but by working smarter, with the assistance of vocal coaches. She discovered what she had been lacking in the quiet, away from the limelight. Balance. In that quiet place of contemplation, she did more than simply find her voice again, she found her life's calling. Ansley made a triumphant comeback to American television in subsequent seasons, competing as a member of Team Blake on The Voice. She and Bryce Leatherwood performed Red Dirt Road as a pair in the battle round. Even though she lost the bout and didn't make it to the knockout round, just being there was a statement, a strong comeback that showed she was still learning, growing, and rising, to everyone. The Voice and Ansley's illness were just the beginning of her narrative. If anything, it shows how profoundly Simon's remarks affected her, leading her into a new phase of purpose and maturity in addition to her rehabilitation. You won't believe how those words shaped her life in unexpected ways until you keep watching. Life when The Voice, the influence of Simon's words on Ansley. Things changed for Ansley when she triumphed over her challenges there. One that is characterized by slow, methodical advancement rather than sudden stardom. The sort of progress that isn't constantly splashed across news articles. But its influence is long-lasting. Although she did not bring home a medal, she did bring back invaluable life experience. She learned how to command attention and remain composed under intense scrutiny after performing on two of the nation's most prestigious talent platforms. Above all else, it demonstrated to her the importance of perseverance even after the shutter clicked. Ansley stopped waiting for opportunities to come her way and started creating them. She became a regular performer at events all around the South, including festivals, fundraisers, and community centers. These weren't huge arenas, but she had her legion of supporters there. And it was in those places, beneath the stars or in little community centers, that she discovered her beat. Her focus shifted from chasing fame to establishing a solid foundation. Local events like as Bojangles Night and the Carolina Country Music Awards began to feature Ansley Burns' performances on a regular basis. She had expanded her reputation beyond television. Now it was resonating with local flyers, performance dates, and word of mouth. Not only that, but she shared stages with famous singers and even headlined fairs. It seemed like every show was just another step toward the foundation she was building. She developed in other ways as well, though, than just musically. In interviews, social media, and live performances, Ansley started telling her experience honestly. No matter how nervous she was or how many times her voice wouldn't cooperate, she never shied away from discussing these topics. Not with giddy enthusiasm, but with thankfulness, she also spoke about Simon. Because for all that transpired after that vulnerable moment on America Got Talent, it had served as her compass. As she continued to release music, her fans could see her self-assurance blossom. Ansley Burns started penning her own lyrics, performed gospel, and covered old country songs. Songs that served as narrative vehicles rather than mere vehicle for showcasing her vocal range. The tales she has told. She embraced her genuine Southern heritage, fusing the harshness of reality with the gentleness of music. The exciting part is about to begin. When the South Carolina Gamecocks asked Ansley Burns to sing the national anthem at one of their football games, it was a time of great pride for her. It was more than just a show. It was a watershed moment. Her status as a previous TV contender had transformed. Now she was a well-respected young artist who spoke for her neighborhood. Despite the stadium being jam-packed, she stood solitary in the middle. No orchestration, no supporting tracks. It was just her strong, assured, and crystal-clear voice. The audience went wild when she sang. It was at that same moment that Ansley demonstrated her independence from the stage. She had blossomed into a star, a voice that her hometown could be proud of, just like on America's Got Talent. And she continued to gain momentum. Shortly thereafter, Ansley received the Carolina Country Music Awards Youth Artist of the Year honor. There was more to it than meets the eye. It was a sign that she was becoming into more than simply a talented vocalist, she was becoming an artist. As a country music artist, she was discovering her voice, self-assurance, and niche. With her faith as her foundation, her family as her rock, and her passion for music as her engine, she was creating something genuine. A lot of people think about the dramatic moment when Simon Cowell advised her to drink water and gave a long pause. They also think about the unexpected second chance. It was significant beyond praise or news coverage, though, in hindsight. Her life was altered by that moment. It sowed a seed deep within her, and that seed was the conviction that other people might believe in you even when you doubt yourself. That faith can be the only thing that keeps you going at times. Ansley continued even after the cameras stopped rolling. As the throngs dispersed, she persisted. Even as she moved stealthily, she continued to advance. No longer is Ansley Burns merely known for her emotional stage performances. Her resilience, her ability to get back up after falling, and her ability to transform a farewell into the start of something greater have brought her great fame. Her genuine achievement lies in it. Do you agree with Simon Cowell's heartfelt farewell? In your opinion, does Ansley Burns' story exemplify the virtue of resilience? Post your opinions down here. Your feedback is much appreciated. Stay tuned for more motivational tales from the talent industry and beyond by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Make sure you click on the video that appears next. It is something you should not miss.